Hi, I hope you're having a good holiday. It may be somewhere in between Christmas and New Year, or you may get opportunity to watch this in retrospect. I hope it's been a really good, restful break. I just want to touch base with you on a few things ready for next year and cover a little bit of this last year or so with you. It's been a very peculiar time, hasn't it? 2020, 2021, nothing at all of what we expected, and who knows what 2022 will bring. We hope that we'll be in a strong position to continue to gather together as a church. Any changes around that we'll communicate with you at the earliest possible opportunity, and we'll see what transpires. But what we do know is that He's with us and has been with us, whatever the circumstances. We've had amazing times together on Zoom. I hope that you've had amazing times together on YouTube when you've been able to meet with others at home to watch on YouTube, and that you've actually experienced the presence of God with you wherever you're at. It's one of those things that actually many people can testify to, that despite being dispersed, we've experienced His goodness, His kindness, and His love on an individual and a small group basis. The writer to the churches in the book of Hebrews puts it like this. He says, well, look, Jesus has said that He'll never leave us nor forsake us. And therefore, because He's my helper, I shall not fear. And it's taking the promises of God, the promise statements of Jesus, and saying, He has said this, therefore I will behave, I will believe, I will think like this. And what we've seen amongst our community is how so many of us have been able to not only encourage and strengthen ourselves through the Word and through the presence of His Holy Spirit in us, but also be able to encourage one another over the last 18 months or so, as we've journeyed, that we can take the promises of Jesus and actually see the truth of them worked out in community and personally and individually. So I want to encourage you, if you get opportunity over this season of Christmas and New Year, if there is an hour here or there or wherever, that actually you take some time out just to orientate yourself again around Him in the busyness, in the celebration of Christmas. And that maybe a meditation on Romans 5, 1-5 would help contextualize something of the year that's gone by, but also where we're headed in 2022. The reality is that God walks with us through difficulties. He doesn't take Himself out of it, but He steps into the difficulties with us and walks with us and strengthens us in that journey. And actually that journey, as we endure circumstances holding on to Him, produces in us character. And that character gives birth to hope. And hope actually is a dynamic relationship between us knowing that He's with us and at work in the world, but also the work of the Holy Spirit who pours the love of God into us, and that assurance of knowing that we're loved and held by Him. And so this dynamic of the two leads to us having testimony of His physical and actual work in our lives, as well as the inner world change, where we're no longer fearful, we're no longer struggling, but we're assured of His love and His hope. And that's a journey that we need to be going on, both personally but also together. And you know where I'm going next, don't you? That's group life. And so we're going to have an opportunity in January on the 9th and the 16th with a group life fair after the 10:30 meeting to explore what groups are going at the moment and some new ones that are starting. So we've got those two opportunities at the end of those Sunday morning meetings to explore that. If you've got an idea of starting a group and you want some help in doing that, then please get in contact with Ollie and Catherine Cole, and you can do that via our website on the Connect link, and that will drill down. You can follow it down. You'll be able to connect with them and communicate about small group life and what you might like to do. I encourage you, if you're not in small group, that's where you need to be. And as much as possible, we'll try and help create small groups for you if your life circumstances with shift work and other things make it quite difficult. We will look to connect you in as best we can with others, because none of us are equipped to grow on our own. I want to thank you for your journey of faithfulness over 2020 and 2021. And it's evident to us that as we gather on a Sunday morning, we look across the room and we see faces and hearts and bodies expressing love and adoration to God. And that's principally because you have continued to have an affection for the Lord in your own personal walks with him, and that you've been strengthening one another in that journey as you've gone along. So we want to commend you for continuing with him and pursuing him. Another attribute of that is the fact that you have continued to give so very generously in terms of finances, not only into the church, but also into our monthly gift offerings. I want to thank you for putting God front and centre in your finances and doing that. And it does set us up as a community, as a charity, as a trust, to think about what we're going to strengthen the church with in terms of staff appointments, and also how we're going to see those staff appointments affect not just the church community, but the wider community as well. We'll be exploring that as elders and trustees and staff team through January, February, ready for the budgets in March for 2022-2023. So we just want to thank you for continuing to give to the mission of the church, and let's see what God does with us and through us as a community in the next year. I want to communicate a couple of changes for January. Our Sunday meetings are going to be extended from an hour and 15 to an hour and a half. That'll just give us a little bit more flexibility in terms of responding to what God might be doing with us. It doesn't mean we'll always go from 10:30 to 12. We might finish a little sooner, but that just means we'll have tea and coffee before the children come back in to the room at 12. We're also going to create a context twice a month where we're going to have a song of celebration together, all together, and then the children will go out. And while parents and guardians take children out to their groups, we will have the opportunity just to share with one another, to greet one another, and then when those folk who've been dropping off children come back into the room, we'll continue in our journey of worship together as the gathered community. That's going to be happening twice a month. We're also going to be having our afternoon sessions and also sanctuary in the evenings between 7 and 9 p.m. An opportunity where you can come, you can worship God privately, or you can engage with others in prayer, and you can just be yourself, positioning yourself before the throne of God to intercede on behalf of others, to pray your own private prayers, to worship, to celebrate, to do whatever you want to come and do. It's an open time as we walk in the courtyard of the King to celebrate him, to pray, to orientate ourselves around him, to give him time to speak to us as well. So we've got a whole raft of things planned for 2022, and if you read my letter, you'll be able to find a bit more detail in there about those things. I just want to leave it here and let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, praying that you have had a good rest, or will have a really good rest, that Holy Spirit fills you again to overflowing, that you know and understand the love of God poured into your hearts, and that whatever 2022 brings, that we will continue to strengthen one another as a community who are, in the plural, all filled by the Spirit of God, and that recognizing it's to our advantage that he is with us individually, but also with us corporately, to see the fullness of Christ expressed through the church, that we will be, as our statement says, a family of God in the presence of God, displaying the glory of God. And so I ask that you rest well, enjoy him above everything else in this season, and let his love fill you afresh before we get going again. in January. Have a really good rest and a really good time, and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.